Before we get into today's episode, I want you to take one breath with me, because my guest Sammy Jones from the Unbreakable Spirit, and also known as the Unbreakable Mentor, is living proof that one moment of honesty can change the direction of a life. Sam's story starts in chaos: bullying, anger, violence, drugs, crime, and jail. A life built on survival, ego, and a constant need to prove something to the world. But what makes this conversation powerful isn't the darkness, it's what happened next. In part one, Sam takes us into the real cost of that life and the moments of clarity that sparked his decision to change. If you've ever felt trapped by your past or stuck in patterns you don't know how to break, this episode will meet you right where you are. And here's my ask. If this hits home, follow Leading Our Own Way on your favourite podcast platform and share this episode with one person who needs it today. Here's Sam for part one of part two this week. It's an incredible, amazing chat, and he's become a really good friend of mine. He's absolutely incredible. Anyway, here's Sam and myself for part one. Welcome to Leading Our Own Way. I'm your host, Andrew White, and this is the podcast that unveils captivating narratives of resilience and personal triumph. This podcast is for anyone seeking inspiration and insights on overcoming life's challenges. Follow and subscribe, and then we can lead together forever. Before we dive in, I want to give a big, massive shout out to our now new proud sponsor, Eshu Skincare, a brand that truly aligns with Leading Our Own Way. This Australian-born company is dedicated to keeping skincare simple, effective, and straightforward. They've made waves in the US, even landed in Macy's and over 300 stores, and now they're back with a renewed focus on healthy skin and real results. If you want authentic skincare that fits your lifestyle, check them out in the show notes. Thanks to Eshu Skincare for supporting real stories and mental fitness on Leading Our Own Way. And if you're interested in sponsoring like Eshu Skincare, drop us a message. We'd love to connect. Sammy Jones, welcome to Leading Our Own Way. How you doing tonight, brother?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, the honour's all mine. We've been talking for some time now, haven't we? And it's we've been waiting for this moment. I've been so excited to have you on the show, so I appreciate you giving up your time to join me so we can go and help a shit ton of people.
Yeah, as I said, I'm very grateful. I've been watching your podcast for a while now, and I love what you do, so...
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. No, I really, really do. I always thank the guests for joining me on my journey, because the podcast is part of my journey. So I only hope I can create a safe space for people to, be vulnerable themselves, I suppose. And you're on a bit of a mission. If you could put, I suppose, our episode into a couple of sentences, what journey can you take our viewers on right now?
From chaos to peace.
Interesting words. Why those two words?
Because that's what I was. Wherever I went, I was constant chaos, and a lot of people used to say that, brother, you're chaos, like you're too much.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm just a man of peace, and I fully embrace that. Yeah.
How long would you say you've been peaceful for then?
Maybe about 2 years now. Yeah.
That's only a small chapter of your young life, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's only a very small chapter. I feel like my life sort of just begun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I was friends with you 5-10 years ago, what Sam would have I seen?
Chaos, living out of my own traumas. I was a very angry, very violent person, very selfish, violent, angry person. Yeah.
When I ask that question, I always get a bit, I don't know what it is. I don't know what the best word to explain it is. But whenever I ask that question to a guest and then they describe themselves, and obviously I know what's coming. I have an idea what's coming at least. But you don't present that to me. We've actually physically met, and it's very rare that I get to say I've physically met. There's only a handful of guests out of the 110 people I've interviewed. Yeah. And you just don't give me that feeling at all. I think the first time we saw each other, because we'd spoken before, but I think we embraced each other with a hug straight away,
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of person I try and portray now. It's not portray, the type of person I am, the energy I want to give off is that peaceful energy. For so long I wanted to be that feared man, and I no longer want anyone to fear me.
Yeah. And we'll dig deep into why shortly, about what what made you wanted to be feared? Because I think that's a very the root of maybe why your journey began in the way it did. But for your present self, before we get into how you're leading your own way, on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being rock bottom, and 10 being, I like to use the word content. Where would you say you sit on that scale right now?
Probably an 8. Working towards that 10.
Can we ever be that 10, do you think?
I think we can.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm content with where I'm at. Just the process of getting to where I want to be is, it's a busy process, you know, and I'm just still sort of getting used to that busyness. So, yeah.
Well, we'll cover your future plans journey at the end, but for now, you're doing some incredible things. You're on a bit of a mission. How can you tell us? I love the title of Leading Our Own Way, by the way, because I think we all look at the world, we all see the same things, but we all feel it differently and maybe perceive it completely different. So therefore, we live with different purposes. We lead with different purposes. How would you consider that you lead your own way now?
By setting an example, you know, it's by using my past to help someone else's future. That's how I lead my own way. It's really, I feel if I didn't use my past, if I just got on with life, got a normal job and, you know, was working 9 to 5 at a warehouse or anything like that, I've just wasted 30 something years of my life, you know, but right now I'm using that, all my history to help someone else. So it's like, it's got a purpose. I've got a purpose. You know, I didn't do all that for no reason. You know, obviously there was a plan along the way and I'm following the plan now. So
certainly are. Well, tell us a little bit about it. Sammy Jones, aka Unbreakable Mentor. Talk to us about Unbreakable Mentor. Tell us about the wonderful things. Tell us about what each day looks like for you.
Mate, each day I'm a man of routine. It's probably why I did so well in jail, in rehab, wherever I go where there's a structured routine, I do well there.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why my days now, like I wake up, I go for a walk, I come back, I do some breath work, I meditate, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for, 5 things I love about myself, and 5 positive core beliefs that I hold about myself. I feel that's, if I can start the day off doing that, then I'll start the day off right. You know, I try not to grab my phone straight away, get on my phone, I'll get back to people, you know, a lot of people reaching out and stuff like that for help, and I'll get back to everyone as soon as I can. Then I go about the day, you know, I make sure I stay connected with my family, whether that's calling mum, having a chat with my wife, you know, talking to my daughters before she goes to school, or talking to my oldest daughter when she finally wakes up at like 11 o'clock. But, yeah, and then I focus on building the business up and my study.
Beautiful. Yeah. And morning routines comes up on this podcast a lot, and I think that seems to be a personal. I mean, it is for me as well. And I dip. I'm human. I have dipped, and then when I notice, it's a good little science experiment, isn't it? Because when you don't do it, I definitely feel. You know what I mean? Like I feel the bits that I was feeling before when I did my cold exposure, and the versus when I don't, or when I get up and do a morning walk in the sunshine versus when I don't. Through that self-reflection, I can see the pains and aches coming through my bodies, and you know, and I'm going through that dip right now. If I'm honest, you know, and the podcast is about being open and vulnerable. And there's those times I've felt tired. I mean, I've got a bad back here, and I'm like, I need to look at the peptides I want to look at taking and all those type of things. But going back to your morning routine, you said about doing some gratitude, and that's an area some people still sit going, I don't know, I don't have a pen there. You know, it's hard work, even though it's really not, isn't it? It's that mental struggle to do it. Could you take to us this morning, for example? What did you write down this morning that you were grateful for, and some of the things that you said that you love about yourself too?
Well, that's the thing. So this morning was one of those days I really struggled, but I make sure no matter what I get something out. Some days it's 5 lines, but this morning it was, I'm grateful the weather's nice today because then I can get out in the sun later on. Yes. Something as little as that, you know, it's just, you can find gratitude in absolutely everything. Grateful that I'm breathing and grateful that my family supports me.
Love it.
You know, things that I love about myself. I love my grey hairs because I'm getting a bit, you know, I get a haircut twice a week because the greys are that bad on the side, you know. Wednesday and Saturday I'm at the barber's, but, you know, I've got grey in the beard and stuff. And that's something that I can really look at myself in the mirror and talk down a bit, you know, have those negative self-talk patterns to myself. So it's like I make sure that I tell myself, these are the things I love about myself.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
so important, isn't it? And even that in itself is neuroplasticity, because you're training your brain to
yeah,
think positive thoughts about yourself, which means then it can translate to sending positive vibes to everybody else, right?
that's it. Exactly. You know, we believe everything we tell ourselves.
We
So if we're
really do,
going to
yeah.
tell ourselves something negative every single day, guess what? We're going to be negative.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's about flicking that switch.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Talk to us a little bit about Unbreakable Mentor then. I think you're doing some crazy, wonderful things with it. You're on a bit of a mission. What is your mission? And tell us about what you do every day.
Mate, the mission is helping as many people coming out of that cycle of addiction, that cycle of crime, whatever it is. And when I say addiction, it's not just substances, it can be behaviors as well.
Yeah.
Helping people heal their traumas realistically, you know, diving deep into it. You know, I've got a 12-week program that's focuses on substances or behaviors. But outside of that, it's like I just enjoy talking to people about traumas. Not enjoy talking, sorry, I shouldn't say that. I enjoy helping people get through those traumas, you know, creating that safe space for them, that safe container where they do feel comfortable to be vulnerable. And they are safe, because obviously safety and vulnerability equals healing, and helping them get through that.
I mean, that's true compassion, isn't it? When you're putting yourself in a physical position to help somebody else. And that's
Yeah.
why it's really important that we finish that loop off in our heads. Because when people are over empathetic, empathy is beautiful, don't get me wrong. But when we can't take it to the next step of compassion, that's why a lot of empathetic people actually go through a lot of depression and negative thoughts
Yeah.
themselves, because they don't actually physically help them. They imagine what somebody else is going through and they're there for them and all of that. But taking it to that next level of physically putting themselves, that is enabling their brain to complete the loop as best as they possibly can anyway. Sometimes you can't take it to the next step because it might be out of your financial control, maybe, whatever it may look. Do you know where I'm coming from?
Yeah, no, definitely. No, you're 100% right. It's especially when people do have that sense of safety and vulnerability and they trauma dump on you. If you don't have the tools in order to help them through it, then help yourself through it, you're going to burn out very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you see that quite a lot, even in like police forces and fire service. I have a few friends who have, mentally been drained because even though they're physically in the action, they don't get to complete the loop afterwards.
That's it. Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, they're
So
stuck in that fight or flight sort of
yeah,
sympathetic nervous system, and it's a dangerous place to be.
yeah, absolutely, it really is. So your clients, the type of people that come to you for support, take us through some scenarios. I mean, obviously without giving names up, I know it's confidential, but tell us the sort of people that come to you and some of the things that you do with them so people can see.
I think a lot of the people, when they first come to me, they just say, okay, they've got an addiction with a certain substance. Mate, I just need to get off it. I'm like, mate, that is the least of your concerns. It's all well and good just getting off the substance, but if we don't do that inner work and heal the core root of why you're addicted to that substance in the first place, you can stay off it for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. The moment you get triggered again, that specific wound gets triggered again, guess what you're going to do? The subconscious is going to take over, it's going to pick up, and you're just going to go straight back to what you know is being safe. It's going to numb the thoughts, it's going to numb the pain. And when I tell people that, it's kind of like, that's when I can see who's serious and who's not serious.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to stop using drugs. That's it. Well, mate, it's not that simple, and then I'll have a deep chat with them and just go and sort of, especially around that childhood trauma and stuff like that. What was life like growing for you? What was it like growing up for you? I mean, the first question I generally ask them though is that when you use, what does it give you? Does it numb your thoughts? Does it just stop the pain? And then once you can work that out, that's when you can take it back. Well, what thoughts are you trying to numb? And 9 times out of 10, it goes back to childhood trauma, that complex trauma from childhood. So I was then talking to them about what it was like growing up and trying to figure out that pattern, and then coming up with a plan that we can go through where we can heal that, and then we can start building that new life that they're too afraid to let go of.
Yeah. And is there anyone that's pushed back and said, I don't want to do it, so you've not had to continue, so you've not been able to continue work with them? Have they had to leave, or is there one that maybe come back when they've gone away and really processed what you've said? Is the time spaces between that?
Yeah, it depends on the person. I've got some people that are just like, mate, I don't want to do that. It's like, oh, you're talking out of your ass and stuff like that. And it's like, well, when you're ready, you know where I'm at. Like, this is what you have to do if you want to work with me.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's like, you just can't jump on and do half the journey and then be like, oh, I'm sweet now, see you later. It's like, well, you got to be 100% committed. And I do have some people that go away and, they're not just ready to start their journey yet, and that's fine. Mm.
Do you share your journey with them to give them a perspective, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people sort of, especially in Brisbane, a lot of people know me in the Brisbane area, so it's like they know my background, and when they see the person that I'm now, it's kind of like I tell a lot of people that when you start healing, you'll start rubbing off on the people around you, and next minute they'll start changing, and they'll start asking that question, or why is he smiling all the time? Or I haven't seen him get angry in a while. I haven't seen her, blow up, and they'll want to take the journey as well.
Fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, do you have an example of a time where somebody might have, I don't know, known the old Sam and then
yeah.
seen you now and gone, oh, no, okay, well, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean?
I've got goosebumps now. I've got two examples of that one, a good one and a bad one. There was
Oh,
one guy. He was a very dangerous man up these ways, and the last time I actually caught up with him, we were both in jail together. And then he reached out to me on Facebook and actually said, he goes, brother, he goes, you got peace in your eyes. He goes, I want that. I
well,
said, well, mate, if you want it, come and see me. And he
nice.
came up and he saw me, and we went on a journey together, and that was a really great moment. Just to sitting there talking to him about healing, and we are talking about crystals, and just there was no mention of crime or anything like that whatsoever. It was like a 360 moment.
Love that.
You
And
know,
how's he going now?
yeah, good, good. He's got he had a kid, so that's why he wanted to change his life, mate. He's doing triathlons. He's doing amazing. Yeah, I think he's
Beautiful.
about to go over to Singapore soon and do a triathlon over there.
Oh, good on him.
Yeah.
And what about the other one that you said? You said you had another one as well?
Yeah, so this person. I hope they do watch this so they can see that I have changed. It's this person was on a list that I had that I was going to get. No matter what. When I first started my healing journey, I'm like, look, I'll leave all that behind me, but if I see these people, I'm still going to get them. And eventually, when I sort of healed a lot of my past, I didn't have that list anymore. And I saw this guy at the shops. And as soon as he saw me, he went white, got the sweats going and everything. And I'm like, oh, and I just nodded my head and just kept walking. I was like, you know what, I should turn around and probably go talk to the guy and say I'm sorry. And I've turned around, mate, he's running out of the shop. And I'm like, shit, should I chase him? And I'm like, no, that's probably going to make it worse. I didn't want to be running after him and go, I'm sorry. It's, yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's a tough one, isn't it? Because I could see you running down and saying, "I'm sorry." Would he think you're joking or pranking him or still? You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
a bizarre situation, isn't
Just
it? Wow.
re-traumatized the poor guy, and it's like, I'm not
Yeah.
about that anymore. As I said, I don't want anyone to fear me anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
mm,
Well, I hope he does listen to it, and I hope he reaches out and you can make that connection because I think that would be beautiful as well,
yeah,
wouldn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Talk a little bit about Unbreakable Spirit. With your, yeah, you go for it. This is your platform. You do a lot of 9D breath work with that,
Yeah,
don't you?
so that's breathwork sort of what really helped me. It's like I'd been to all types of counselling, psychologists, psychiatrists, counsellors, drug and alcohol counsellors, therapists, and the lot. I could name everything. I knew, all my triggers. I knew the traumas and stuff like that. But for some reason, I was still very reactive, and I just didn't know how to get rid of it. It's like I was a good person. I was trying to be a good person, but I just still had this thing inside of me, and I just didn't know what to do with it. And it got to the point where my family was walking on eggshells, and they didn't know whether happy Sam or sad Sam was going to wake up, or angry dad was going to be out, and it's like I just couldn't do that anymore. So I
Yeah.
started doing breath work, went through a few journeys. I'm like, hey, there's something to this. Like I feel. I can feel this stuff coming up, and every time I'd go deeper and deeper, I'd have a little release, and then I'd just go back after a month or so. I'd go back to being that highly emotional person. And then I saw the 9D breath work, and I thought, I've got to go give this a go. And I went and did my first journey. It was the first time in my life after I walked out from somewhere, I wasn't scared of myself. I wasn't scared of my thoughts. I wasn't scared of my emotions. I wasn't scared of life. It was the closest thing I could say it was kind of like the closest to being at peace I ever was.
Yeah.
And I went and did a few more journeys, and was like, each time it stripped a layer away. It stripped my ego away, it stripped the anger away, it stripped this away, it stripped that away. And then all of a sudden, I was in alignment with who I really was. I just had that feeling inside of me. I'm like, this is great. This is what life's about. And it made me realize that behind this mask I've been wearing for so long, I'm still this sweet, sensitive, caring kid that I was when I was,
Yeah.
you know, 5, 6, 7 years old. I've just been hiding in behind that mask this whole time. And I
Yeah.
fully embraced that. And that's when I thought, you know, this is it's a powerful modality when it's done right.
Yeah.
I've got to become a facilitator. So I went and, did the facilitator training. And now, so that's when I started up Unbreakable Spirit and do 9D breathwork now as well. Yeah.
Love it.
Mm.
I always find it fascinating going from the day before you started the breath work, or, you know, even just touched on the breath work. I love to be in the people's head from that moment of switch. What made you go, or where did you see breath work? Where did you go, I'm going to try that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the bit that I always gets me.
I think it was like, because I'm Indigenous, my dad's Aboriginal, and I love my culture, you know, and I know with with the circular breathing, with the didgeridoo, there's something about it. You look at all the Indigenous cultures from around the world, there's always something to do with breathing. You have the
So
sweat
true.
tents, the Native American sweat tents, the chanting, like there's in the sweat tents, it's all about the heavy breathing and everything like that. You look at the Chinese, the monks and the Indians from a long time ago. They all had breath work that helped them heal. You know, and that's when I was like, I've got to give it a go. I have to.
It's
Yeah.
so true, isn't it? People I hear a lot. The more I talk about breathwork, the more people say to me around, oh, this is just a new thing everyone's going through in the last, 10 years or whatever it is. But and it's the same with cold water. Cold water plunges. You know, somebody has said that to me about, oh, you're jumping on the fashion wagon of cold water. And I turned, I was like, well, it's funny that, isn't it? Because we didn't have heating 100 years ago. So we always had cold baths.
Yeah. It's so
It's not
true.
new. We've been doing it hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah. Yeah, like, there's something to it. Like, if you think most talk therapies haven't been around that long,
Yeah.
you know, there's been some form of talking to help heal. And don't get me wrong, I don't take away from talk therapy. Like, I'm doing a graduate diploma in process work psychotherapy at the moment. I think it's a great thing. I think when they're both combined, though, mate, that is power. That really is power.
Well, it's funny since, I mean, I know humans have always had problems, but obviously in the last, since we started to create, societies and farms, before we had all of that and people just lived in the tribes, it's innate in our DNA. We've always been storytellers.
Yeah.
When the sun went down and we lay around the tribe or in the cave or whatever, everyone, all they could do was talk about their day or make up stories. And as obviously that timeline went 100 years, 1,000 years, they would tell the stories, the fables from the past. And even if it was made up, Chinese whispers, and it's changed along the way.
Yeah.
That's still what they did. I mean, you read to your children when they go to bed now, because that's
Yeah.
how the brain functions.
Yeah.
So it's so true. So I can see why talk therapy is so beneficial, but we've been storytellers since the beginning.
And that's it, you know, it's we just have to have that safe place to be able to talk.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree. Because we've invented so many problems, some amazing things, but have burnt off loads of problems alongside of it. It's like medicine, isn't it? We might have some beautiful medicine that can fix one problem, but a lot of it buys 9 other problems.
That's it. It really does, you know, and it's like, you talk about, like, even back in the cave days and stuff like that, we're always a community, you know,
Yeah.
the community stuck together. Everyone was always together. When these days, because we've got phones and everything like that, everyone's by themselves. They isolate. Isolation is the biggest killer out there.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
And I'm in schools all the time, and I know they don't have the phones necessarily in school, but I'll go to, that's a bad example, but go to the supermarket, or I go to the movies, or I go to a basketball game. They're all, some of the ones who are with the friends, they're still isolated because they're more worried about what everyone else is doing with the ones that they're not actually there with.
Yeah.
They're all on the phones trying to communicate with everybody else.
That's it. And then comparing themselves to everyone else as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, mate, half of it's fake what you see anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're also studying your graduate. I know this won't be, we filmed in February. This won't be out in February, but you started a graduate diploma in February as well, right? In trauma and informed studies.
Yeah, I'm actually, I've done a lot of study since I started my healing journey. I've done a lot of study and stuff like that, but I haven't done university. So I thought it was my auntie's funeral 6 months ago. And my cousin came up and he was telling me, he goes, brother, I'm about to start this thing. It's right up your alley. You'd be perfect at it. It's a graduate diploma. I was like, mate, there's no chance I'll be able to get that. And he said, look, just give him a call. I said, okay. So I gave him the call and I said, okay, well, what's your work experience? What's your study experience and stuff, and I told them, and I went through a bit of my story, and they said, mate, we want you. Like, if you can write all of that out there, and the work that I was doing up at the rehab and counselling addicts and stuff like that, we want you. And I said, okay. So I did it, and I was blessed. I was blessed to get an Indigenous scholarship there as well, and which I'm very grateful for. And I'm grabbing it by the horns. It's weird studying, especially a graduate diploma. Like, mate, my life goal was to become a national president. And now my life goal is the total opposite of that. Like,
love it. A national president.
Yeah, national president of a bikie club. Yeah. Yeah.
I actually thought you meant a president then, so now that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I clarified that one. Okay.
Yeah.
So, which I know we probably won't mention names here, but is it a big bikie club in Australia or?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And why did you want to be the president? Just taking a very quick break to thank our sponsor, SU Skincare. If you haven't heard of them, SU Skincare started right here in Australia, using Australian ingredients to make skincare straightforward and accessible, especially for men who want results without the fuss. Their journey took them all the way to the US, where they were featured in Macy's and over 300 stores. Now they're back with a fresh approach, focusing on healthy skin and authenticity for everyone. I'm proud to have SU Skincare as a sponsor on Leading Our Own Way. See the show notes for their website and to see how you can keep your skin healthy and confident. And if you're interested in sponsoring like SU Skincare, drop us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Now, right back to the episode.
That's the top job. Being the national president, that's the top job that everyone strives for. It's like, I suppose that's given me the ultimate power. That showed everyone that I'm not that weak person.
Yeah.
That was the thinking that I had.
Were you en route to be getting that job?
It's a long, most people are 20-year members before they get 30-year members before they get that job. But it's, I was doing all the right things in that. So.
And how long were you in it?
Just over 10.
So you probably weren't even halfway there.
Yeah, no way.
You mentioned you wanted the top job because you didn't want to be, you wanted to be feared, or you wanted that title, or not to be considered weak. Sorry. Were you ever considered weak?
Yeah, tremendously. During primary school, and this is sort of where a lot of my problems or issues originated from. It was, I was heavily bullied. It was a really tough time for me. I really struggled a lot, and it's to the point where, I thought about unaliving myself at a very young age. I didn't understand what that meant, but I just thought that if I wasn't here anymore, everything would be a lot better. I was raised by a single mum with 3 kids. She was working her ass off for the minimal amount just so she could get us food and provide rent and get us to school and that. So I thought maybe it would take some stress off mum. I've got no friends anyway. I just couldn't cope. I really couldn't cope.
With your mum, obviously having all that time to try and supply for the family, provide for the family. Sorry. Was there a sense of lack of connection there with your mum then because of that? Or was it still a beautiful connection relationship considering?
It was still a semi-good, it was a good relationship. She's a beautiful lady, She just, I can't fault her, but it was just that from the study that I've done now, I realise I had that abandonment originally from when my parents split up when I was 1. And then it was sort of that, the story that we tell ourselves, when our primary caregiver's always going to work and stuff like that, is like, okay, maybe work's more important than what I am. Maybe I'm just not important enough. Maybe they love work more than they love me. It's like our logical brain can go, okay, well, no, they need to provide for us, that we need food, we need to pay rent. But our subconscious doesn't work off logic. It works purely off emotion, and that's what it tells us, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, it's fascinating that you bring up that, because we have 8, 9 survival emotions, and they were the only emotions around for millions of years. We only had the limbic system. We didn't have the prefrontal cortex until we started to put more calories in the system, which I think I read. Don't quote me on this, and if anyone does hear it and wants to clarify, great. But some of the books, the literature behind me says I found this absolutely fascinating. Before the prefrontal cortex was formed, and I think we've had 7 layers of human like, you know, Homo sapiens, and
Yeah.
I think there's 7 or 5, I can't remember, between 5 and 7 different categories of humans over the last 4 million years. And I think cows have been on the planet around 770,000 years, 770,000 years. We've been eating meat for around 450,000, 440. And then we started to heat them because we accidentally came across fire around 250,000 years ago. I'm not saying fire was around then, but that's when we started to heat the meat. Because we used to apparently, I keep saying apparently because I'm quoting from books, but we got more calories, more protein, more calories because of the meat. So that's when the prefrontal cortex started to develop and our brain grew. So we then created the logic. But for a long, long time, it was purely based off emotional. And this is what I say to people when we're dealing with children. When somebody's not regulated, and it's the same with adults, I know, but I predominantly deal with children. When children are not regulated, they're upset or angry even, stop saying stop being angry. Stop saying stop being upset. Stop putting anger into a red zone, because anger means dangerous, and anger isn't dangerous. It's the response to anger that can be dangerous. But that's the expression of the problem where they're at in their life. Just hold space. You can put your hand on the back. You can just be with, if they're not ready for that, move to the side and just hold space for them. And however minutes, and some science books have said, 8 to 11 minutes, but forget that. Put that to the side. If you just hold space for them, there'll be moments you'll see them go through that state, that change of state, and that prefrontal cortex from offline will become online. And then we can start to speak logic. But before you notice that, they're emotional. So just hold space for them. But teachers and adults, they don't have time because we're all living in fear. We're all busy, and we just don't have that space anymore. And that's really, really sad to me.
It really is, especially when you see parents telling their kids, you can't get angry and that kind of stuff. Well, no, like, sort of tell my youngest daughter, it's like, you're allowed to be angry. You can be angry. It's a normal feeling to be angry. You're not allowed to take it out on other people. So if you feel angry, you can go out in the backyard and you can scream whatever you want. Even swear words. You know, I said, but as soon as you walk back in that door, you talk to us with some respect.
Completely agree.
And it's just, there's too many people out there that just think because they're kids, they can't have these big feelings and emotions. So they need to be taught at that age how to deal with these big feelings and emotions.
I say to kids every day, you will be angry at 30. You'll be angry at 60. You'll be angry at 70. You could make me angry right now. But is it okay for me to hit you? No, I'll lose my job and get fired and go to jail. Do you know where I'm coming from? Like, stop putting anger in this red zone. It kills me. And I know it's easily labeled for everybody, but I do think it gets into the head that because then when they can't control anger, you're putting them at a disconnect with everybody, because they're subconsciously, what you just said, they're subconsciously going, I'm angry. Everyone's hating me because I'm angry. No, stop doing that. It kills me. Anyway, we went off on that one, but you were 11 years old. You were around 11 when you wanted to end your life. Is that right?
Yeah.
Take us to that moment then. What had led you up to that point?
I was just over it. I was just going to school. Like, I loved school and I was a very smart kid. I loved reading books, and, I was captain of the chess club, and I was in the choir, and it just got hard. And it was to the point where I still remember this one time, there was a kid there, he was like the popular boy, and he was moving over to England, and he had this little red notebook, and he was writing everyone's home numbers, their landline numbers in the notebook so we could call them when he got over there. And I was standing there and I was like waiting. I was like, please ask me. And he like sort of turned around and saw it was me, and he's like, oh. And I like grabbed the book and I'm like, yes. I'm like, okay, he's going to have my number. He's going to call me. And then someone said to him, they're like, why are you letting him write his number in the book? And he looked at them, he goes, I'm not going to fucking call him anyway. And I remember just like pretending I didn't hear it, and just, that even
stuck with
now
you.
thinking about it, it's sort of, made me a bit emotional, it's.
It's shit like that. I mean, I know they're young themselves, but it sticks with you, doesn't it?
It really does, yeah. That's why I'm so anti-bullying and stuff like that. It's
Me too.
lifelong. It's such a lifelong thing. People can, depression, sadness, all that kind of stuff. I cannot agree with any form of bullying whatsoever. Yeah.
I'm with you. I mean, that's my journey, and that's part of my son's journey right now as well. With how close were you to ending your life?
Probably Not sure actually, to be honest. Like I didn't know how to do it. It's like kind of like I was just thinking maybe if I run away and then just never come back, and
Yeah.
if it's maybe if I just jumped in the water and went for a massive swim and stuff like that. So it's hard to say how close I actually was to it, but there were the thoughts that was constantly going on in my head. Just I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever hit a red line where, blow up point towards these people who were horrible to you?
Yeah, so it got to the point where I went down to Sydney, and I don't remember seeing my dad too much. He was based in Sydney. He was in the military, and I remember when I was about 11, I went down to Sydney to visit him, and that's when I met my older brother, my stepbrother, and I idolized this bloke, like absolutely idolized the guy. He was everything I wanted to be. He was everything an older brother that I thought was. He was, he had the girlfriends, he had the cool car, he was out partying, doing this, doing that. And I sort of confided in him, and I remember he looked at me and he goes, "Stop being a pussy and punch him in the face." I went, "What?" And he goes, "Do you know how to fight?" And I said, "No." And he's like, "Yeah." And for the rest of the time I was down there over a few weeks, he just taught me how to punch and sort of kept building my confidence up with that. And when I went back to school, I remember the first kid that said something to me, I just went, "Smack." And everyone sort of jumped back, and these kids jumped back and started crying, and no one ever said to me anything. No one ever said anything to me again after that. That taught me, though, at that young age, that violence keeps you safe. Mm.
With the reflection in life now and what you know now, are
Yeah.
you still glad you punched that boy?
Yes and no. I just wish he didn't egg me on so much to keep, to keep doing it. I
Yeah.
wish there was a bit of more of a control around it. Yeah.
It's weird. I sit in the middle with that, man. I can give all the resources to my son's school regarding bullying. He's been through it, and there's a part of me that wants to say to him, "Mate, they won't do it again if you fucking punch him."
Yeah.
But I have to keep my teacher head on.
Yeah.
that in the middle, parent head on, and
Mm.
but I share an example from I used to teach in a high school in England. And there was this little dude who was just picked on constantly, but he hung around with the cocky kids, and it's all on camera. And probably shouldn't say this about the staff room later, but this, honestly, he turned around. He was every day. We can do the right thing as teachers and do the professional thing and talk them through it, blah blah blah. But we all know when we're not around, it continues.
Oh,
Any
yeah.
any teaching adult thinks they don't. It does. Fucking
Yeah.
it does. And he just turned around one day and walloped this guy in the face.
Yeah.
And we obviously had to put him into trouble and put him in detention. That's what we do over in the UK. And
Yeah.
we went to the staff room, and I fucking just said, you know what? If we just carried on doing what we're doing, that was going to get worse for that kid.
Mm.
And we all just said, the other kid deserved it.
Yeah.
He just totally deserved it. And I don't know what happened later, but I don't think he got bothered by that kid again. Probably more shocked like your guy was.
Yeah.
So I sit on the fence with it, not promoting violence at all.
Yeah.
But there is a psychological point where somebody goes, "Whoa, you just did that to me." Yeah, I'm not going back there again. I don't know. Anyway.
No, you're right, because you can talk to the teachers, you can talk to the parents, you can, as you said, when everyone's together, no, I don't do that, or I won't ever do it again. The moment no one's there, it's happening again. It's kind of like, that's what I told my youngest daughter, and even my oldest daughter when she was in school. It's like, if you need to, you can hit someone, but only once and only if you feel threatened. You're not just going out of your way and doing it. It's one time. That is it.
Self-defense.
Self-defense. I've really nailed that into where it was my brother. He's like, nah, just go around, just punch people. Like, if someone says anything to you, just hit them,
Yeah.
So I didn't get that. I didn't have that wise knowledge behind it,
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably not the best advice, is it? Just go around.
Yeah.
So from that point, from that fight onwards, then how did school life change for you?
From that point, I never wanted to feel that weak and that lost again. So it was just wherever I went, I got expelled from pretty much every high school I went to. I went to 6 or 7 high schools.
6. Wow.
It wasn't long after that, though, that I found drugs, and that taught me that I could be happy and I didn't have to have these thoughts going on up here.
What thoughts did the drugs get rid of?
that I was useless, that I was unworthy, that, you know, I was just trying to suppress that sweet, sensitive, caring kid. And he would kind of pop up every now and then, what you're doing is not right, what you're doing is not right. And it was like, shut up, like, I don't want to feel like you ever again.
Yeah.
You know, it was from that moment on when I literally suppressed that boy. Mm.
Was it well known that you were the fighter and the drug taker?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd get to a high school and it would last like 7, 8 months. And I don't like to say the word bully, but I would go to the bullies that were picking on other kids and, you know, make them apologise to the kids and stuff like that. So it's kind of like I was bullying the bullies, but I don't like using that word, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You could change it and go, you were Superman trying to fix the crime.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah.
You were sticking up for, you were being Robin Hood, I suppose, right?
That's it. I was sticking up for the kids that needed to be sticked up for, you know. No one else was doing it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when, you know, I had a couple of friends in primary school, but the moment they were around everyone else, they'd pick on me too.
Mm.
You know, so I just made sure that there was no one else ever felt like that.
To paint a picture of your characters, your mother's character a little bit more, she was working really hard to help you avoid all of this by helping you go to a private school. Is that right?
Yeah. So year 7. So up here at that stage, there was no prep at that stage. So year 7 was still primary school. Year 8 was high school. So year 7, she sort of took me out of that primary school that I was going to, and that's when she took me to the high school, and that's where I got introduced to the drugs and that. But yeah, she was working her ass off just so we could get a decent education. Yeah.
So there's a lot of drugs in the private school.
No, I just found the kids that were like me.
Got you.
You know, I found the other angry kids, the other kids that didn't fit in with the norm.
Yeah.
And they were doing drugs.
So you lasted there. It was the first year of high school, but back then it was year 8. You lasted what, 8, 9 months, and you got rejected from that school. Yeah.
Then they asked me to leave.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like at that point, Mum could sort of see what was going on. Like I'd changed quite a lot, especially at home, you know. And she couldn't really handle me. She couldn't control me. And I didn't have a man in my life. I didn't have that father figure in my life. So it was like, she goes, look, she sat me down after I got kicked out and she said, look, you're going to go live with your dad. I was like, what? Nah, because me and my dad weren't really getting along at that time. You know, he was, how do I say it? He was just a man fighting his own demons. You know, he's one of my best friends today, but he hasn't been my best friend my whole life. You know, I disliked the man very much growing up, yeah.
And you didn't go to Sydney to live with him?
No, so he was based in New York at the time. So he left Sydney and he was the defence attaché for the United Nations, or for the Australian Army to the United Nations. He was in New York City, yeah.
That paints a big picture even where your mum's head was at, right? Because she wasn't just sending you down the road to Sydney. I mean, I know Brisbane's not far. Sydney's still not close to Brisbane in terms of people, especially living in England. That's the other side of the country, but that's the other side of the world.
Yeah. Like, and she just, Mum was at a stress point too. You know, and what I didn't realise at the time, but I realise it now, that sort of activated that abandonment, that rejection wound again.
Yeah.
You know, so I went over to New York, and as I said, my dad, he was just a man fighting his own demons, you know, so he had a problem with the drink, with the alcohol, and it just wasn't a good time for me over there, yeah.
So, and I mean, I know you're a kid, but... It was a fresh start for you, right? To start fresh. Where did it go? Why, was it not so good in New York because of your dad? Because you did pretty well in school there. Because like you mentioned before, you're a smart dude. But I remember you in the pre-chat, you were saying you did really well academically there. Yeah,
so in maths, like with numbers, and I think I've since found out, you know, I've got ADHD and ASD1 as well, so slight autistic. So I don't know if that's why I'm really good with numbers or anything like that. But yeah, as soon as it became to maths or science, I excelled.
Yeah, wow.
You know, no matter what. And that's, a lot of the kids hated me because especially the ones that were trying their ass off to get the good grades and studying, and then they'll get the exams. Here I was, wagging school, taking drugs, fighting everybody, and still getting the same grades as them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did the New York trip come to an end then? Not trip, lifestyle come to an end?
I got expelled from school over there.
Wow.
So I lasted, I think I was about 7 months in that school, 7 or 8 months. and running amok yet again, taking drugs, fighting all the time, hanging around the wrong people. And I remember getting called into the principal's office, and she just said, "Look, just letting you know, you've been expelled. You're not welcome back. We're going to get you escorted off the property. Your dad already knows." And I was like, "Sweet, whatever." Walked off. I don't think I didn't go home for a bit. Went and hung around with some mates and stuff like that. And then by the time I got home, Dad was there. He'd already been drinking. And he's like, "Mate, you're too much for me. You're going back to your mum. See you later." I was like, yeah.
Abandonment kicked
Within
in.
a couple of days. And then yet again, that abandonment, that rejection is like, well, you know what? Fuck you. I don't want to be here anyway. You know? Yeah.
So to returning to Australia,
Yeah.
is that where life, I'm guessing, I'm picturing it, how you land back on Australian soil, and do you re-enter the education system here, or?
Yeah, so I came back and Mum was just like, "You just wasted this awesome opportunity over there." And it's like, "Man, I don't care." She's like, "What are we going to do?" I said, "What? I don't care. Like, I don't want to go back to school." And she's like, "Well, you have to go to school." And I said, "All right." So we found a school, wasn't too far away. By that stage, she was working a lot less, so I couldn't really afford the private education. And so I went to a state school. I lasted, I think, 10 months of that one, and it was just like, because I came back and I was in this, I thought I was a gangster. I thought I was an African American gangster, like, just that's all I'd been hanging around with over there. And I just
Yeah.
came back and just took it to that next level again, because it's like that abandonment and that rejection wound had already, it's like it just kept getting poked. So all of a sudden I had all these uncomfortable feelings inside, and I just had to let them come out somewhere. So it came out more drugs, more violence, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you've been exposed in New York City, New York City is a place for that, isn't it? Did you have that American tag on you when you returned to Australia as well, living in New
Yeah,
York?
I remember. So I came back and Mum's picked me up from the airport, and I had a blue bandana hanging out of my pocket, and I had this giant medallion like that big hanging around my neck of a big weed leaf.
No.
Like, and I was talking like them, and just yeah.
Do you have an American accent?
I was putting on a bit of an American accent. Some words would come out with an American accent, but I was putting it on as well. Yeah,
To be
yeah,
cool, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
did that.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, so you've been expelled for the seventh time in Australia.
Yeah.
Is it so? It's like 8 times overall, then, really, eight
Yeah,
around.
so 7 or 8 times. I think I got to go.
And you became a parent quite young.
I did, yeah. Well, I was running amok, and, went through a couple of traumatic things, and then sort of met this girl, and I don't know, it was like a situationship.
Yeah.
And yeah, then I just turned 18, and she's like, "I'm pregnant." I was like, "Okay, well, what are we doing?" And she said, "Well, I'm keeping it." I said, "All right, cool." And I sort of tried to change my life then, but I'd gone through so much sort of complex trauma, and then big T trauma as well with there was a car crash and the rejection issues from mum and dad and that. And it was just, I was like, all right, I've got to try and change. I've got to try and do a bit better. I just
Yeah.
didn't know how at that stage. But before I had her, I went to rehab for the first time. I was 17. Yeah, I was just between 17 and 18, went to rehab for the first time.
Yeah.
And that stage was sort of only just so I could get off the meth. I didn't think anything else was a problem. And as soon as I came out of that rehab, I remember I smoked a cone, and it was the worst experience of my life. All I thought about the whole time was I was instant depression, psychosis, paranoia, everything.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, rehab's ruined pot for me, like. And then, yeah, my ex got pregnant, let me know she was having a baby. I was like, okay, shit, maybe I should start sorting my life out. And I did for a couple of years. I wouldn't say sorted out, but, I was living as close to straight as what I could possibly think of.
You
You know,
working?
yeah, I was working, I was selling cars, had a job at a dealership.
Oh, nice.
I was still selling drugs to sort of make more money. But every weekend I was going out partying, every weekend. And it was, I was hitting the pills, I was getting on the coke, I was smashing the alcohol. Because I just had those feelings still inside of me that I just was not comfortable. I felt weak. I didn't feel like I was a man. It's like for so long I had this very twisted idea of what a man was. You know, it wasn't up until I got out of jail this last time that I realised what a man actually is. I thought a man was someone, the most violent person that never backed down from anybody, the person that made the most money, could, you know, sleep with the most amount of girls possible. And that's what I thought a man was, you know? So I thought by me having a job, I wasn't a man.
Where did you get that vision of a man from?
Probably the kids I was hanging around with, 'cause, you know, it was like from 14, when I came back from New York, you know, I got on the speed and so I was always hanging around older people. I was always in gangs, youth gangs and stuff like that. So I was always around this different culture and it just became normal to me. You know, these were the people that I looked up to because no one feared them and they didn't fear anybody. People feared them, but they didn't fear anybody. So I was like, that's what a man is.
Yeah.
I just had it stuck in my head because I didn't have that male role model growing up. Mm.
So with everything you're doing and partying, I'm guessing you've got a lot of people who, you know, would be considered friends at that point. You've gained a lot of friends because of the type of people you're hanging around with. But did you lose any other friendships or family members because of the journey you were on?
Me and my blood brother, my full brother, you know, me and him got quite distant quite early. My sister, it was on and off with my sister. It's like, don't get me wrong, we still loved each other, but it was just, I think they were scared. You know, it's like they were scared that one day they were going to wake up and find out their brother was dead or jail or whatever it was, and they just had to sort of keep their own safety and push me away for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, their fear came true, didn't it? You know, in terms of the jail, you've done a few stints of jail. When was the last time you were in jail?
The last time was 2018 to 2022.
So fairly recent then.
Yeah.
When did your chapter of life entering jail begin? What age?
20, 21, 22. Yeah.
So how old are you now? 30?
37.
37. So.
Yeah, nearly 38 in September.
Oh, you're still a baby. I was going great at 24, so consider yourself lucky. So with you then, talk to us a little bit about the reasons why you entered the jail. Again, we're not here, my episodes are not here to glorify what people have been through necessarily in terms of, you know, what people, you know, I think you know where I'm going with that.
100%, yeah.
But paint the picture of why, I want people to see your character versus how you are now. So just go through quickly what some of those reasons were.
The type of person that I was out doing home invasions all the time. And when I say home invasions, it wasn't on normal society or what I used to call stiffs at the time. You know, just home invasion on other drug dealers, or if someone had something that I wanted and they were in the scene, I was going and taking that. I was selling a lot of drugs, you know, getting in car chases, getting in fights all the time, standing over people. And so each time it was a variety of those things, you know, using weapons, getting caught with weapons, and yeah.
That's I can't imagine. I struggle to imagine you doing it, to be honest. Like, yeah. With you in America, not you in America. There was a time you went into jail, and I thought this was absolutely insane. And what are the odds of this happening? But are you happy to share how your mum found out? As we close here on part one, if anything, if part one showed you anything, it's that rock bottom doesn't always look like one moment. Sometimes it's a slow build until you finally see the truth. And Sam's truth is confronting, but it's also full of hope. In part two, we go deeper into what healing actually looks like after the decision to change. We talk about breathwork and emotional regulation, how to create safety in your body when your nervous system has lived in fight or flight for years. We talk aftercare, community, self-forgiveness, and what it takes to rebuild relationships when you're learning to live differently. So don't just listen and move on though. Come back for part two, because the rebuild is where the real transformation begins. Make sure you're following Leading Our Own Way on this platform so it lands straight on your feed. Anyway, come back Wednesday for part two. And in the middle, we have Tuesday Truths. So we'll see you then. Plenty to listen to. Keep leading your own way. Come back for Sam and myself. Join us tomorrow to hear more from today's incredible guests and learn valuable insights to help you lead your own way. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you then.